welcome to the final episode of Season 4 FIH Pro League show. I'm Marsha Cox and I'm the host of the show today. Joining me is none other than David Harte, Irishman's goalkeeper, Olympian, and FIH Goalkeeper of the Year 2015-2016 as well. David, thank you for joining me on the show today.
Hi Marsha, good morning. Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, David, it was a season packed of lots of highs and lows, lots of exciting also announcements of some of the players deciding that this would be their farewell to international hockey, some introduction of a lot of debutants to international hockey as well that we saw, especially in the last couple of weeks, I guess, in the last games. What was your take on the season? How much did you enjoy it?
I think looking at the FIH Pro League as a whole, usually obviously when it gets towards the end of the season, obviously the exciting part where the teams are really going for, you see, sometimes I find it difficult because some teams might have only played 5 games, some teams have played 12 games and suddenly they're finished, and basically you're just waiting until everyone to catch up, and then you see at the end of the season some of the teams coming good, some of the teams running out of steam, and other teams being surprise packages. So as a whole, I found again an exciting season because new blood came in, a lot of teams using the extended squad options that they had. Of course, you see a lot of underage players coming through from the under 21 ranks, some players at senior level who haven't been seen before, and then suddenly now they have superstar names in their own countries, and that's what it's all about.
I think it was quite fitting to have the end of the season in pretty much the countries who have won, the Dutch men and women, the women having received their trophy on home turf and the men close to home, but also quite nice to have pretty much a home crowd at that crowning.
Absolutely. Well, I think maybe an hour and a half drive for most people if you go over the border to Antwerp, where the Dutch men played against the Belgian side. Yeah, and those are the matches, of course, that fans around the world want to see. The top 3 sides. Well, I think Belgium perhaps maybe number 2 and number 3 at the middle with the Dutch. Not sure where the rankings are, but in and around, and that's it. That's exactly what you want to see. And you know, the 2 games that they played, in particular, the final is what they called it, the last game. Yeah, I found it just a fantastic game of hockey.
Yeah, indeed. And talking about the winners on the women's side, the Dutch women, I guess, you know, some will say that's no surprise, but on the other hand, you know, they have had a strong season, but I think it was also a season filled with a lot of challenges for them.
Yeah, I think again, just living in the Netherlands and having access to all their games and seeing them play quite a lot on TV, you could tell that there was a couple of let's just say half performances. If you want to look at it from a Dutch perspective, I think Paul Van Aas coming in as a new coach really had to see what type of players that he had available to him. The loss of David Goode, for example, came as a surprise, but then other players have come in and filled that void and really stepped up, and that just really emphasizes the depth in strengths that the Dutch have at their disposal. And then of course you see the teams coming through at the end, Australia, Germans, you know, I think it was down in Eindhoven actually that Australia managed, you know, to get that shootout win against the Dutch. Now, usually doesn't happen if you look over the years in terms of like you would see the Dutch side as a formidable side who really go unbeaten every now and then. And I think that's what made this Pro League edition even better, that you see that some surprises came up, and I think that's the way it should continue in the future. Yeah,
indeed. And I mean, you saw also at the bottom of the pool with New Zealand also having to really fight to stay in the league right up until their final game. I remember at the beginning of the season in the women's competition, they had interviewed a number of coaches and players also from the men's competition, asking them who do you think would be the top goal scorer in that Dutch season. And Frederik Matler's name was a name I think that got mentioned probably 10 out of the 12 times. And the funny thing though is that with regards to the FIH Pro League, Frederik Matler is the highest goal scorer of all time. So her stats are really good.
Yeah, not just domestically, but just like you said, Matler, of course, internationally well renowned. But going back to my previous point and the depth of squad and strength that they have within their selection, they also have the option on the top of the circuit from a penalty corner perspective with Yibi Jonste. Other players have come to the fore with the two Pins, Pien Son and Pien Dicke also scoring many goals, and in particular that incredible, insane goal of the reaction from the corner save from the German goalkeeper. I think she took it like a periscope above her head, put it into the back of the goal, and that has went viral around the world, and so it should have. So I think, again, the name, of course, Fredrika Mattler is constantly mentioned, but at the same time, there are often other players as well that don't forget that they go overlooked at times as well.
Yeah, but let's have a look at Fredrika Mattler's stats. Okay, so David, you mentioned not only Mattler being one of the powerhouses in the front line of the Dutch, but many others as well. But of course, we know they walked away with the trophy, and a big congratulations to the Netherlands. They had a fantastic season, and we'd like to see a little bit of their celebration.
The Netherlands get this one underway. We never fall back. Yeah. We never fall back. The season 4 champions from the FIH Pro League are the Netherlands. And you can find me where I'm at. We never fall back.
Cool. Undoubtedly a well-deserved celebration for the Dutch women, and as we know, they are all on holiday at the moment, as they are celebrating a much-deserved rest as well. Moving on to the men, it was a super exciting build-up to that final. I quite like that it went down to the wire in that final game. David, what was your take on the Dutch men walking away with the victory?
I think if you're looking for an honest answer, I'd say I was actually a bit surprised, to be honest, and only saying that purely because the new faces that came into the squads compared to their usual selection that you see from the last year's edition of World Cup and just the general senior players, if you want to call that. But Delmay and his whole squad have done incredibly well, of course, to get it over the line, and they did it the hard way. Coming from behind in many games, and also to get the result against their southerly neighbours, Belgium, where they pick up the trophy in the final, as you said, and a very convincing victory, and actually a very convincing back-to-back victory over the reigning Olympic champions. For me, was quite a surprise, but at the same time, is probably to see again the depth and strength of the squads that are sitting now in the Netherlands.
Yeah, indeed. I did kind of hold my breath for a minute when I saw that first game when all the debutants were introduced and all the senior players out in the stands. But what was also really great to see was, for me, it looked like a more unified Dutch men's team.
I think, to be honest as well, if you ask some of the senior players, they were probably feeling a little bit uncomfortable themselves, seeing some of the younger guys perhaps performing better than they expected as well. But at the end of the day, that's what international hockey is all about. You want to have that extra bit of competition in your position to really drive you on. And the Dutch squad now heading towards the European Championships in Mönchengladbach at the end of August. Everyone's eyes are really firmly focused and set on that target now.
Yes, indeed. And speaking about the Dutchmen having had won this season's edition of the FIH Pro League, let's have a look at their celebration and their highlights.
Once again, our Pro League champions.
That was indeed another great celebration to see. David, I think these are things that you and I dream of. Who knows, maybe next season's edition, you'll be on the receiving end of that. But the Dutchmen are also enjoying their well-deserved rest. David, I don't know what you were doing when you were 16, but John Dohmen was playing his first international for the Belgian men's hockey team. And he celebrated his 453rd international game just a few days ago. What is your take? What is he like as a player, having played against him many years?
Well, just going back to the first point in question of what were you doing when you were 16 years old, I was actually playing against John at an under-16 European event in Millfield in Bristol in England. And I can even remember back then some of his fellow teammates and players being like, we have the best player in the world. That's how they used to talk about him and discuss him. I haven't played against John now for over 14, 15 years. He's the ultimate professional. He's an incredible athlete, as well as a very gifted hockey player, and really knows his role within the team. You can see also he's a leader in the pitch and was wearing the captain's armband on the 453rd game, and rightfully so. And what an honour to do so in front of a home crowd, and to join the likes of Dohmen, the only other male hockey player on the planet to have reached such a milestone in caps. And it seems like there's no really slowing him down, or there's no stopping him. But yeah, I just think it's fantastic to see that the commitment that you put into your sport, you have the ability to do so. Also getting towards the mid-30s, it doesn't get easier with your body. I can testify, and Marsha, you can also maybe agree to that as well. But yeah, he's the ultimate professional, and a great character off the field as well.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed watching him play, and I think you mentioned that at the age of 16, he was already crowned as the best player in the world. So it's no surprise that in 2016, he was also FIH Player of the Year. That is also a nice way to be rewarded for all your hard work and discipline throughout the years, and then to actually receive an accolade that crowns you as best player in the world. Well, looking forward to next season's edition of the Pro League with him in it. Looking back at the season, we had a number of goals, of course, across field goals and penalty corner goals. Let's have a look at who our top goal scorers were for the men's competition. In the men's competition, we saw 348 goals scored, and Harmanpreet Singh being our top goal scorer with 18 goals. Alexander Hendricks having scored 13 goals. And from GB, Nicholas Bandurak scoring 12 goals this season. David, you've played against all of them. You know what their strengths are. Alexander Hendricks, of course, with the penalty corner. Harmanpreet Singh with both penalty corners and field goals. And the same for Nicholas Bandurak. What is your take on the types of goals that are being scored were scored in this season's edition of the Pro League?
I think, Marsha, looking in world hockey as a whole, just also outside the Pro League, that it's continually becoming harder to score direct penalty corner goals. So for Harman, for Alex, and for Nicholas, of course, to score the goal that they have done, I think it's credit and testament to their ability and their skill from the top of the D. Having played with Harman in the Hockey India League for numerous seasons, as he was just coming up through the ranks before he's really reached his stardom, and he's now captaining the Indian side, I could tell straight away that this boy had incredible ability. Incredible risk to actually sling the ball wherever he wanted to on the goal. Alex, of course, is well known throughout the world, and was a key kind of factor in the, let's just say, the medal winning side that has been the Belgian side in the Olympics and previous editions of the World Cup and European Championships. Now, the one player I haven't played against is Bandurak from GB. I think he was introduced only in the last number of years, and I was on a bit of a sabbatical for international hockey for the last number of years. So again, another goal scorer and striker, not just obviously from the penalty corner, but also from field play as well. And I think when we eventually, with Ireland, face up against England and GB, I might have my hand full. So looking forward to the challenge.
Well, at least you've got plenty of footage to see what they're all about and to know a bit more. But indeed, David, I think you're going to have your hands full. On the women's side, we saw 271 goals scored in this season's edition of the Pro League. Let's have a look at the stats of the competition. 14 of those goals scored by Jibbe Janssen, and Pindeke scoring 8 goals, and Josje Berg scoring 8 goals. So all top 3 goal scorers in the women's competition coming from the Dutch women. I know that you know some of these players as well and what qualities they offer, but one of the things that I really like about Jibbe Janssen is how she's also come through the ranks and worked her way to be this dominant drag flicker as well.
Most definitely. I think watching her also in the Dutch Hoofdklasse week in, week out, and I think she was possibly also the top goal scorer of the Dutch league as well. When it came to the international side, as you said, she burst through the ranks. I think she bided her time when she was a bit younger. She was behind Marsha at Den Bosch, and then she saw a new kind of challenge. She went to Oranje-Zwart in Eindhoven, and then decided to make the move to Stichtse, where she's now firmly set herself as the best bag flicker in the country, and perhaps maybe even the world from the women's game. And the other players, of course, that were outside the penalty corners, like Pien Dikke and Josef Berg, similar kind of strikers that you could see that really goal poaching in the right place at the right time, and knows for the goal and know how to put the ball away at the right moment. And you saw that throughout their domestic campaigns with their clubs as well, and it's really come to the fore again here this year's Pro League.
Yeah, and having all top three goal scorers coming from the Netherlands also proves that the depth in their selection, and also the way they play as a team. So this season we saw the introduction of relegation into the Pro League. I think a decision that everybody can agree with was a good decision. It gives an opportunity for new teams to be introduced. And David, Irish men, you guys will be entering next season's edition of the Pro League. But before that, we also need to say goodbye and farewell to New Zealand men. David, do you have any take on the New Zealand men?
Well, I think any team that's playing in the Pro League, you're playing amongst the top teams in the world. It's never going to be easy, and there's always going to be one team that has to go down, unfortunately, with the new relegation and promotion and setup. And I think some of the games that I did see, for example, also when they played against the Dutch side, they were 2-0 up against the Dutch side at one point. So that goes to show that they do have the quality, that they do have the ability to mix it with the top teams. And then sometimes, unfortunately, some unfortunate goals against, some balls against the post, some good saves from the opposition goalkeeper, where perhaps it could have really just set them on an edge, where a goal, maybe a 3-0 was better than a 2-0. Those are the small margins, of course, that we, as you know as well, Marsha, of course, the top sports and international hockey, that make all the difference.
Yeah, I think that this experience definitely is something that they needed as well. We know that we're definitely looking forward to having the Irish men. And so on that note, what can we expect from Ireland?
I think what you can expect from the Irish side is like always, Marsha, in most sporting teams from Ireland, you're going to see an awful lot of passion, an awful lot of fight, an awful lot of heart, but also an awful lot of skill coming through with a lot of talented players that perhaps won't be known yet in the world, but after next year's FIH Pro League edition, there'll be certainly names to remember for the future.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to it. And we've got a little highlights package of the Irish men and what we can look forward to.
Very good indeed.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, David, and I'm sure you are too. I cannot wait to see not just an Irish team full of Harte, but also full of the Harte brothers, and also looking forward to seeing the new names on the scene. Looking over to the women's competition, we saw USA make their exit from this season's edition of the Pro League. It was a really important season for them, having very little exposure to international hockey, having missing qualifying for various major tournaments. The Pro League was definitely something that they managed to benefit from. I don't know if you got to watch much of them, but at the start of the season, they looked really a young, inexperienced team, which indeed they were. But as we saw them progress through the league in these final stages of the league, they showed a lot of promise, bringing it down actually to the wire with regards to relegation between them and New Zealand women. They showed a lot of fighting spirit. I was quite excited and inspired by the youngsters that I saw coming through. But David, did you get to see any of them?
I did actually, for a number of reasons, of course. I think there was also the small fine margins, the missing of penalty strokes, the giving away of certain moments and key kind of goals against cost them dearly. And like you said, Marsha, it's a very young side, and I think they can only be, buoyed for the future of going, right, listen, unfortunate with the relegation, but it's definitely a good start point again to really kick on and of course go look to get promoted back into it again, because that's where you want to be playing. You want to be playing against these top teams. You want to be doing these European tours and the legs where you play against the likes of the Germans, the Belgians, the Dutch, and of course the likes of Argentina and so on, and they'll be busy now preparing for their own Pan-American games.
Yes, indeed, and I think that they would also definitely carry some of the successes that they had, like taking Australia to shootouts. But having had to wish them all the best on their next adventures, we are welcoming Indian women into next season's edition of the Pro League. I know that for a nation like India, this is really important. They have invested a lot of money into their women's program, and we've seen them walk away with the well-deserved Commonwealth Games medal, and I think that they're really looking forward to coming back into the Pro League.
Yeah, and I think Marsha, as well as that, of course, kicking on from their fourth place, historic finish at the Olympic Games in Tokyo as well. A new coach in place with Jannica Schopman, you can see straight away that they're hungry. The Indian Eves are really coming to the fore now, and they really want to be seen on the highest world stage, and that will be, of course, the Pro League. After that, of course, they conclude with their own Asian Games and their own competitions, but then looking forward to 2024 with the Pro League. That's where they want to be playing consistently those matches against those highest ranked teams in the world, almost month in, month out, depending on your schedule, of course, and I have no doubt about it that they're all looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to having them in the Pro League. Let's have a look at a highlights package.
Top in Group A play top in Group B.
Very good goal from Gertie. She scores again in the competition.
Well, we're looking forward to having India women enter the league next season. David, looking back at this, were there any highlights for you? One of my highlights was the Nicholas van der Rek goal versus Germany. The one that also went very viral.
Yeah, I think just one for me that stood out would be from the women's side. I've already mentioned again, but the type of goal that you can say either luck or by accident or anything, but Pien Saunders' rebound goal from the penalty corner was something that I hadn't, in all my years of playing hockey, I had never actually witnessed or seen before. And just a phenomenal skill and ability, of course, one, to protect yourself, and two, to make contact with the ball, of course, to get it actually to go back towards the goal. Whether or not, I haven't heard her being interviewed or asked did she mean it or not, but at the end of the day, I think it was a fabulous skill and a joy to see.
Yeah, indeed. That was definitely one for the books. Well, so David, thank you so much for joining us today on the show, and looking forward to next season.
Thanks, Marsha. It was an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, but before we say farewell, please don't forget to vote for your best player of the FIH Pro League. It is the FIH Pro League Polygrass Awards, and by clicking on the link in the description, you can vote for your best player. Looking forward to see who wins.